All right, students, here we go. We did this in class already, but I'm going to walk through this entire page. It should take me fewer than 15 minutes. I'm going to walk through this entire page for those of you who either missed a part or just really aren't sure what to do. Starting here, this is the averages Excel project that we started in class on Tuesday, most of us. Some of us may have started it prior to that. What we're trying to do is we're going to calculate averages, and then we're going to make some charts. The charts that I make for this assignment may be different than the ones that we made in class. You do not have to redo the charts. You do have to have two charts, one on, and they need to be on separate tabs. So make sure you do that as well. Okay, we're going to start. Here we go. First thing we're going to do, and we didn't do this the first thing before, is we're going to select everything in this spreadsheet, and we're going to change the font to Times New Roman. In a spreadsheet, you can go over here to the left side of the column A and just above 1, and if you click that area, it'll select the entire spreadsheet. And up here I'm just going to change it to Times New Roman, and we're going to leave it at 12. So there we go. That's what we're going to use here. Now the other thing I showed you guys in class was if the names are too long on our original spreadsheet, the column A looked like that, and in order to extend that to make that long enough, you can double click between A and B, and it'll make that column wide enough for the longest name on that column. And when we get done doing this, we're going to have to do this a couple of times. So over here, I want you to write the word average, because that's what we're going to calculate in this column. On this row, we're going to calculate the lab averages, just the average of each individual lab. So we're going to go ahead and do the calculations first, and then we're going to come back and do the formatting. In cell F3, I'm going to calculate Joe Schmo's Joe Schmo's average. And what I'm going to do here, in Excel again, I say this all the time, if you're doing any kind of calculations in Excel, you are not using Excel to its fullest potential. So Excel has, I said before, we start a function, we start a calculation with the equal sign, except in these times when we can use the built-in functions of Excel, and this time we can. Excel has under AutoSum an average operation. Excel is asking me, do you want me to take these four numbers and do the average? And if that's what I want to do, I press the enter key and it'll give me that average. Now what I want to do, I want Excel to do the same thing for all the other students. Since I've already done this first one for Joe, now I can make this little cross beam into a fill handle, and grab the corner and drag it all the way down to Kim Flem's name, and that'll give all of my averages. Now I don't want decimal points on here, so I'm going to change the formatting on here. I can right click and do format cells, make the cell a number, and then tell it I don't want decimal places by changing the decimal places from 2 to 0. Press OK, and it gives me the numbers that I want. I think what I had you guys do here is that you either change all of Steve's grades to 99 or 98. I'm going to do 99 here. That way I can just have an average that's below 100. So save that. Make sure you save this as you go along. Now for the lab average, I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the regular average for the student. I'm going to tell Excel, please show me how to, please do averages for this. I don't have to say please. This empty cell right here does not affect the average. So there's my average, same type of thing. Use the fill handle and get the average for all the labs. So the average for lab 4 was an 82.8. Now I don't want any decimals, so I'm going to right click that section, format the cells, make it a number. Where it says decimal places, I'm going to change it from 2 to 0 and press OK. And now I have my lab averages. Now we have all the information that we need to do our charting, to do our formatting, etc. What I have you all do, I want you to take this column F, and I want you to make it a color. I'm working in Excel on a Mac, so it might look a little different than the one on your computer, and that's okay. But the functions, most of the operations are the same. So I'm going to center these numbers in that title, average. And then I'm going to center all of the numbers. I could have done that first. I'm going to center all the numbers. Okay. And then for F, that column F, I'm going to give it a color. It can be any color. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the lab averages. I'm going to give it a color, just a different color than the one I've already used. All right, so there we go. We have that. Now what I want to do is I'm going to make the column of average, I'm going to make those numbers just a little bit bigger than the rest of them. The rest are already size 12, so I'm going to make them a 16. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the lab average. I'm going to make that a 16 as well. So those are 16 point. Now, if you look down here, this lab average is bigger than that column. So here's where this is useful. I can double click between A and B and it makes that wide enough. Same thing here, double click between F and G and it makes that column wide enough. So those are our numbers. Now the other thing I want to do is I want to take this word averages and I want to center it over all of my columns. My columns go A, B, C, D, E, and F, and I want this word average to be over all of those. So I'm going to highlight average and drag across to F. I'll try it again. Averages and drag across to F. There's a function on our home tab called merge and center. If I just click the merge and center, it does that. Now, one of the great things about Excel is you don't have to highlight words to change them. So I'm going to make the size of my title bigger than the size of my averages or my calculations. I think this was a 16, so I'm going to make this, well, maybe a 24. I may have given you a different number, and that's perfectly fine. Again, we don't have to highlight the word. We just click in the cell where the word is, and then Excel goes and does the changing for us. All right, now we have all of our calculations, and we have everything that we need to go start doing our charts. So we're going to do our charts. Before we do that, we're going to go down here where it says Sheet 1. We're going to change the name of this sheet to Data. All right, we're going to add a second one. We're going to call this one a chart. And now the way we're going to make this chart is we're going to use the information here. First chart I did was we're going to do just a chart that shows all of the lab grades for each student. I'm going to highlight all of the labs and all of the grades and all of the students. Now I'm going to start here in this blank cell just so Excel knows that it's going to read that as well. Okay. There we go. Now when we get ready to insert our, it's a little different than the one in my Windows. You can do insert, you can recommend tables. You can recommend charts. You can have Excel recommend charts that might be useful. Here's a cluster chart. Let's see what that looks like. It's kind of small, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. The main question you need to ask yourself when you're using these charts is, does this chart actually show me something? Can I read what this chart is telling me? Well, if I look on this one, I see that lab ones are blue, so I can look at all of the students and I can see that yes, all of their lab ones are blue, and I can just look across the chart and see how well or poorly people did on lab one. So this chart is useful. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it on the next page. So there's my chart. I'm not going to do anything with my words or anything right there with that at all right now. We're going to leave that. And I'm going to go back to my first page and just take that chart off of there. I just deleted it. I just highlighted it and deleted it. Now, here's where we changed up in different classes. One of the other things that you can do is you can just show me, say, the lab grades for, say, lab 2. So I'm going to get the grades for lab 2. I'm going to highlight the word lab 2 so Excel will know where I'm working. And then I'm going to highlight the student's name. In my Windows, the command to hold down is, I think it was Control, and in my Mac it's Command. So you guys just figure out that. And then the same type of thing, I'm going to go and see if Excel will give me a recommended chart. And there's one for that. Same one, or I can use this one. Either one. It's the same type of cluster chart. This one just reads across as opposed to from the bottom. Okay. Look at that and see if that's something that's useful. And can I tell what it is? Well, I can. This is lab 2. Shows me Kim's grade is right there below an 80. It shows me that Ike's grade is at 100, close to 100. So this is a useful chart. All right. Now, all this chart is lab 2 grade. So I'm going to copy this one, go to another tab, another sheet, and paste it. And I'm going to change the name of that sheet to lab 2. We're going to order these sheets in a few minutes, but there we go. So now I have a lab 2 sheet. I have a chart sheet, and I'm going to make one more. Oh, I got to take that off the first page. Forget about that. Delete that from the first page. I'm going to do one more. I'll do lab 4. So I'm going to get the grades for lab 4. You can change colors in here. You can do a lot of other things, and we'll learn that later. For right now, we're just trying to get the basics down so that we know how to work this. Again, on here, you can insert a chart and get the recommended chart. I'm just going to use this one again. And this is lab 4. I'm asking, do I know what information is being shown by looking at here? Well, yes, I am. Joe's lab 4 score was right there at 100. I can just hover over it and it'll tell me what it actually is, the value is. So that's a useful one. I'm going to copy this one, go and do another new sheet and paste it here. And I'm going to call this sheet lab 4. So now I have 4 tabs worth of 4 sheets really. Oh, I need to remove that from the data. I have 4 sheets worth of information in my Excel. It's supposed to be saved as last name averages, and that's what you should call it. Here we have the data, lab 4, lab 2, and chart. Now what I want the order to be, I want it to be the data, and then I want that first chart. So I'm just going to pull that over, just dragging it over. Then I'm going to do lab 2 and then lab 4. So now I have data, chart, lab 2, lab 4. And that's all the information that I need for this particular project. So hope that's helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, please find a friend. If your friend doesn't know how to help you, then you're welcome to email me. Have a great week.